Hello guys, back once again with another video, back here in the basement of doom. Well, that's what I call it, it's better than basement funland. Basement of doom sounds so much better, basement of doom. Anyway, been off for a couple days. Basically, part of the reason was to look for a new laptop, which I actually ended up getting a really good deal on the one I actually found. Again, I must thank the wife because she's the one who found it and led me get the laptop. I was only originally looking for an i3 Pentium, just something that kind of a little more powerful than what I had, but nothing like majorly more powerful. But eventually I did get an i7 Pentium, 2.4 gigahertz, 1 terabyte hard drive, and 8 gigabytes of RAM, much more than I was looking for. I was looking for an i3, 500 gigabyte hard drive, and basically, 2 gigahertz would have been good. But needless to say, I got a much more powerful laptop. And why this one's still around and that one, I'll be using both of them. It'll enable me to do a lot more things, which are really cool. So, enough about talking about me. Let's talk about what this video is about. And this video is about Sony selling over 1 million consoles in 24 hours in North America and Canada. Now, I know what you're saying. I don't live in North America. I may not live in Canada. I really don't care. And the reason you don't care is because, let's be honest, wherever you live at, you want your console you want to buy to do well so that you can get the games exclusive, just to be number one, to brag maybe. But over here, last generation, Sony PlayStation 3 was never number one. The Wii was number one. Really, the DS was the true number one console last generation, but media will never say it that way. They don't like to throw the numbers all together. They like to keep the handhelds and consoles separate. And later, the Wii would start off number one if you go just console, and later on down the road, the Xbox 360, console-wise, was number one. And the PS3 just never did that. Now, over here, I remember when the PlayStation 1 originally came out, and after I got one, I was a fanboy of just that system. Didn't care about N64 anymore. And later on, when they announced the PS2, a fanboy of that. And when they announced the PS3, and I was all for it, backward compatible, all that stuff, look at all that new gen stuff. And then when they originally announced the price, I was like, I'm not going to buy that console. I'm not paying $600 for a console. As a fan, I got hurt thinking, you know what, you're shafting the fans because you're charging too much for a console. And I had called it for a long time. I was calling the PlayStation 3 the Neo Geo of this last generation, or the current generation if you haven't switched over yet. Because I just felt that the price was too high and it was going to fail. Well, despite the fact the price is too high, and for 2 years Sony kind of made a lot of bad mistakes, ultimately it did decent, and overall the console sold very well. But it was never number one over here. And for Sony to learn from a lot of their mistakes from the PS3 and learn from some of the mistakes Xbox One had made, they seem to learn from those, and they got it right with the PS4, where it gave a lot of gamers confidence. So, you know what, I'm going to buy this console. Now, I do ultimately think the Xbox One, when it launches here shortly, will probably sell around the same numbers the PS4 did at launch. Ultimately, it's going to be what console works better for people without any problems, and the games are ultimately going to decide who wins. Last generation was kind of a fluke because the Xbox 360 had a lot of hardware problems, but because the Wii was what it was, and because the PS3 had such a slow start, it allowed the 360 to get a big foothold. And Microsoft, to their credit, really pumped up the Xbox Live, which no one else was doing at the time, and they got number one. This generation is a completely different animal. The two other companies, along with them, are pumping up the online now. The online's a big thing for them. They will not be like exclusively the king of that anymore. And now, talking about Sony's blue light of death that's been reported out there, and everybody originally freaked out about it, Sony put something about it that basically, you know what, if you do get the blue light of death, either hard reset your PlayStation 4. They actually give you instructions to how to actually open the PlayStation 4 and make sure the hard drive's connected and stuff like that. Or they say it could possibly be your TV. That could be a compatible issue with your TV, and that maybe you need to update your TV to the latest firmware. Again, if you want a system to be all-in-one in a box, you're going to have problems. And I know people freaked out saying, oh, some PS4s failed. Well, we can go all the way back to the Atari 2600, and I'm sure there were consoles that hooked up that didn't work. It's going to happen with every console launch. If you're the first one to buy something, you take the risk of them not being able to iron out the glitches and it not working or breaking. That's just a risk you take. Just like if you buy it early, you're going to pay full price, and a month later, they could drop the price. That's the risk you take if you buy things first. But overall, I guess what Sony's reporting, the number is only about 4% of PlayStation 4s has failed, which is really a low number. And we'll ultimately see. Again, I'm not going to get into projecting who's going to win. I don't care. Listen, if you like a PS4 or you like Xbox One and you're happy with it, cool. Play with it, have fun. Ultimately, I hope both consoles launch with very few problems, and I hope we're all talking about the games, because that's ultimately what we want to do as gamers. Talk about the games, play the games, not be talking about the problems we're going to have with getting the system to work or getting this or that to work or jumping through hoops. But it is a great feat for Sony over here that it started off with selling over 1 million copies, because if you go back to the PS3, NPD reported the first 2 weeks of the PS3, it only sold 197,000 systems. So that's over 5 times as many consoles sold in that period of time. But ultimately, it's going to decide on, games will ultimately decide what console is number one this generation. So, what do you think about the fact that the PlayStation 4 sold over 1 million copies? Did you kind of freak out with all the news about the terms of service agreement that came out and the blue light of death? Or were you not deterred at all, that you were going to buy it no matter what? Or maybe you're just holding out for the Xbox One? Anyway, guys, love to hear your comments below. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you from the basement soon.